Good morning. So, before starting the new lesson today, if you remember in the chapter Is Matter Around Us Pure, we had two basic small numericals which we had not done during the theory part of the lesson. So, what I will do is I just complete those only two numericals which are there here, and then we'll start with the new chapter. So, I will not give any session name or number to this part. It will be the continuation of that lesson itself in the new chapter what I am starting today. I'll just recall Is Matter Around Us Pure in that chapter. Concentration of the solution, formulas I have just written, is nothing but amount of solute divided by mass of solution. Solution is nothing but solvent. What do you call as a solvent? So anything we can write in that. The next, usually we go with this formula. Concentration of the solution is given by two different formulas. One is mass by mass percentage, another is by mass by volume percentage. So mass by mass percentage of a solution is given by mass of the solute divided by mass of the solution into 100, because it is a percentage. Mass by volume percentage of a solution is given by mass of the solute divided by volume of the solution into 100. Only two numericals are there, children, here. So I think it's on one is on page number 18. To make a saturated solution, 36 grams of sodium chloride is dissolved in 100 grams of water. This is question number 3. So, what is the mass of the solute given? Solution. Mass of solute. What is that solute here? Sodium chloride. I will write NaCl. In the formula base I have written here. It is given as 36 gram. Then what is given? Mass of solvent. Mass of solvent, which is nothing but water, is given as 100 grams. Okay. So what we have to find here? Find its concentration. So to find the concentration, first of all we have to find the mass of the solution. Mass of solution is equal to solute plus solvent. What we have to do here is mass of, it's a solution what we have to find. Mass of solute plus mass of solvent, which is 36 plus 100, that is 136 gram. Right? Next, formula. Formula you will write it as, we have to find its concentration at its temperature. That is, mass by mass percentage of a solution is equal to mass by mass percentage of a solution is equal to, it's something, children, only things are given, you have to just find the solution part and then do it. That is whatever solute plus solvent what you get is equal to mass of solute divided by mass of solution into 100. Solute is 36, solution is 136 into 100. Direct answer I am giving here after division. What you get is 26.47%. I have written a bit down. I hope it's visible. Yes. So 26.47%. That is how you actually solve it. Divide that. One more question. That's all. Given another question here is, in exercise you don't have any questions here. There's another question given in the worked example. This was a worked example actually. I'm sorry. This was not a worked example. This was actually a given question. They have also given it a particular temperature. That does not matter here. Temperature is just to inform us at what temperature this was happening. So, if you see on page number 17, there is one worked example. Those are the only two sums what we have here in this chapter. Let's finish that. A solution contains 40 grams of common salt. So a solution contains, it is again a common salt, NaCl. Sorry, I'll just write the same thing. Common salt is how much? 40 grams. In 320 grams of water. So this is 320. Calculate the concentration in terms of mass by mass percentage. We usually have all the questions on mass by mass percentage only. So of the solution. Mass of the solution is equal to solute plus solvent. So that will be here how much? 40 is the solute and 320 is the solvent, that is water. Together when we add, we get this as 360 grams. Simple. 40 divided by 360 into 100. Answer is 11.1%. A direct answer what I have given you after dividing. That's all the sums are here. Only two numericals, one worked example, one in-text question answers in that numericals were given. Exercise, there are no numericals on this chapter. So with this I can tell we completed the chapter matter around the sphere theory part as well as the numericals on this chapter. So here we begin a new chapter, Atoms and Molecules, session 1. So in our first and second chapter we all understood about matter, right? We understood that all the things around us, everything in the universe is made up of matter. Now, but what is this matter made up of? This matter is made up of what you can say smaller to smaller particles. It is building block of a particle, which is nothing but an atom. So group of several such atoms will combine together and what we form is nothing but an atom. So basically atom is one of the most smallest particle. It's a fundamental unit to make up a matter. What is a matter, its properties, what is around us, different properties of matter. We studied that in chapter 1 and chapter 2. So basically here in this chapter we will be studying about what is an atom, molecule, history of atom, what are the properties of atom and how it actually takes part in the chemical reaction, what are the laws, that is what we are going to study in this chapter. Now here, before we actually understand what is an atom or a molecule, let us first understand certain theories, or we can say that laws of chemical combination, which is given by Lavoisier. So what did he say that was? Though he told that matter, everything is made up of atom, but still what we need to understand about its chemical composition, how was it made? What is an atom? Now atom is made up of three fundamental particles. We know that as protons, electrons and neutrons. That we will come to it later. But before that, what are the properties? How is that chemical combination, which is important? Laws of chemical combination was given by Lavoisier. What do you mean by a chemical composition or chemical combination? It is something which combines. The chemical reaction between two or more substances give rise to the product which is governed by certain law called as law of chemical combination. Now, if I have to make a lemonade, for example, I should know what I have to mix. For example, I mix 1 glass of water and add 2 or 3 spoons of sugar, a pinch of salt. But if I make the process reverse by adding 2-3 spoons of salt and just pinch of sugar, I should know what proportion I have to add to get what product, right? But at the end, it is certain solution only. Whatever I have added, at the end I get as a lemonade, but the taste will not be the same. So what does it tell us here is a chemical reaction. What reaction is happening between 2 or more substances which give rise to a product. When 2 or more substances combine, it gives rise to a third product. That third product is nothing but a combination of these two products, right? Is governed by certain law. There should be a certain law which is called as a chemical combination. Now, I take up in grams, if I consider, I take up so many grams of sugar, so many grams of salt, then a water, a lemon, everything when I put together, when I add, how much quantity I added as the reactants, the byproduct what I am getting is equal to it. Definitely it has to be equal, right? That is covered by some laws. The first one tells here is law of conservation of mass. What does law of conservation of mass tell us? During a chemical reaction, the total mass of reactant will be equal to the total mass of the product. Suppose A is one product. Assume that I have taken A as 1 kg. Assuming that B is another product, I have taken B as 2 kgs, right? When I combine this A and B, I get one new product which is AB. So what should be the mass of AB? Of course, it has to be 3 kg. What does this tell here is, during a chemical reaction, the total mass of the reactant is equal to the total mass of the product. So the mass is not lost anywhere. It is neither created nor destroyed. We say, right, law of conservation of momentum we studied for energy. It is not total momentum before collision, how much ever it was same as after collision. So law of conservation of energy, when we talk about, the energy is neither created nor destroyed. It can be only transformed into one form into another. So even here, whatever mass we have taken, it is neither destroyed in anything, but we get the byproduct as the same mass. And yes, we get that. You have some basic numericals also on this later in this chapter where you understand. Suppose if I take this as carbon plus oxygen, I get carbon dioxide, right? What amount of carbon is taken? What amount? Mass. Then we have to calculate mass, children. What amount of carbon is taken? What amount of oxygen is taken? And what amount of carbon dioxide I get? It is the same combination of this what I get here. So mass A plus mass B, what I get here as mass A, right? The next, law of constant proportions. In a chemical reaction, compound always contain the same elements present in a definite proportion by mass. Now what is this? Yeah. Now suppose if I talk about water formula, right? H2O when I talk about. So in H2O, when I see that, how is the combination done? This combination is done by hydrogen plus oxygen. So that is what I get, H2O. But why here 2 is not there? Why I have wrote directly this? Writing chemical formula, children, how to frame this? You will understand further in this chapter. So let's not break our head on this. Let's only see this part. This is water. So in water I have how many atoms of oxygen are present? There is only one atom of oxygen. Here 2 atoms of hydrogen what I have here, right? That gives me water. Suppose if I change, now this is water. That means the formula for water in Hubli also is H2O, Bangalore also is H2O, wherever you go, whichever water. If I talk about water, let that be river water, ocean water, any water, children. When I am turning it as a water, it has to be H2O only. It can't be something else. That is because I am adding equal proportion of hydrogen and oxygen in it. That means mass concentration, if I check here, is mass of hydrogen is 1. You will again study this further. I am just giving an example here. So how many atoms are there? 2. Plus, not plus, ratio we just check here. Oxygen, mass of oxygen is 16 actually. So here it is 2 is to 16. 2 ones are, 2 8s are. So ratio always will remain hydrogen to oxygen in water. The ratio of the oxygen to hydrogen to oxygen will always remain in 1:8. See, don't break your head in this whereas how 16 came, how 2 came. Mass will study later. Mass of certain elements you will come to know later in this chapter. But that mass concentration will be in that ratio only. Simple, if you understand here, H2, 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of an oxygen will make water. Suppose if I change the concentration here, I will take 2 hydrogen and 2 oxygen. Just I added one more extra oxygen to it to see what will happen. Will this be a water? No. This is hydrogen peroxide actually. That is not water anymore. Just adding something, one extra thing, one atom extra that changes the chemical combination only, composition only. So, in a chemical reaction, compounds always contain the same elements present in definite proportion by mass. So if it is a nitric acid, it has to be HNO3 only, like this only. I can't be taking 2 atoms of nitrogen there. No, that will not be nitric acid anymore. Any amount, how much ever I take. If I take children, example 1 liter of water, 1 liter of water will also have 2 molecules, or that is 2 atoms of hydrogen and oxygen only. 10 liters of water, 1 barrel of water, how much ever water I take, the composition will remain the same only. It will not change. That is what you have to understand basically here. Remaining further more things again about mass, you will study that later. See, in the book I have given about some more formulas. I have given about nitrogen dioxide is a compound, right? So nitrogen dioxide is different from nitrogen oxide. If I just change the ratios of atoms there, I get from nitrogen dioxide, nitrogen oxide, nitric oxide. Just by changing the chemical composition of the mass composition of this, it changes from dioxide to oxide to nitric oxide. That means if water it is to be H2O, everywhere H2O, let that be a drop of water or a barrel of water, it remains H2O. Law of constant proportion. That's what. Now lemonade, if you drink here, everywhere, everybody is going to make the same type of a lemonade only. So okay, little bit of sugar here and there, but still the proportion is same. Nobody will add 2 spoons of salt and 1 pinch of sugar. That is not called as a lemonade, right? The method, the formula, the recipe is the same. So that is how it is. It goes law of constant proportion. In a chemical reaction, compounds always contain the same elements present in a definite proportion by mass. Usually asked in definitions for 1 mark. Law of conservation of mass and law of constant proportion. Now, since we have understood about the chemical combination, now let us understand a bit about history of atoms. Now, what is an atom? How is it made up of? Can we divide atom? Is it divisible or if it is not? Similar types of atoms will group together and form what? That was given by Dalton, and that is called as Dalton's atomic theory. Another very important concept in this chapter is Dalton's atomic theory. So he has given some points, or after studying more and more about atoms, you can say he has given certain postulates. How the questions are asked? State Dalton's postulate or state Dalton's atomic theory. So what is Dalton's atomic theory? We'll see that now. According to Dalton's atomic theory, all matter, whether an element, compound or a mixture, is composed of small particles called atoms. That is what we have discussed. He has given 6 postulates, or we can say Dalton's atomic theories. Write the 6 postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. These are the ones what we have to write. The first point, we all know this, but that is in the form of a postulate what he has given. All matter is made up of tiny particles called atom. We have discussed this, but that is the first postulate given by Dalton. I need not throw any much more light on this first point because we know. Second point, atoms are indivisible particles. That means atoms are so small that you cannot divide it. Suppose if I give you one piece of paper, ask you to tear it into 2 pieces, you will tear it. That one piece into 2, into 2, into 2. It has to be torn into such a small part. Just imagine, it cannot be torn further more, right? Such a small one. So atoms are indivisible particles which cannot be created or destroyed in a chemical reaction. That's what we understood here. Atoms of a given elements are identical in mass and chemical properties. Now suppose if I talk about, say, iron. So about how to write the formula, chemical names and all, we'll see that. It's there in this chapter. Iron. So iron has all iron atoms only, right? Nor big, nor small, all are iron atoms. They are identical. Identical in shape, identical in size, everything. Suppose if there is one more atom which is coming such big, if it is not an iron atom in it, not possible, right? Iron will have all iron particles only. I have another element that will have all same properties, same mass, identical shape and size, right? But if it is different, then it is a combining of anything else, then it will change. Atoms of a given element are identical in mass and chemical properties according to law of conservation of mass. Atoms of different elements. If I compare the atoms of iron and sodium, can they be same? No, they have to be different from each other, right? Atoms of different element have different masses and chemical properties. See, these are all known to us, but that we have to put that in the form of a postulate. Atoms combine in the ratio of small whole numbers to form compounds. Now, suppose that's what I told now. Hydrogen and oxygen has to combine. If I have to combine this, it has to be formed in a proper proportion. Otherwise, if I combine them in this form, I will not. This is water. This is hydrogen peroxide. Now you have studied, this is oxygen 2, where 2 are there. If I add 3, is this oxygen again? No, it is ozone, right? That is how ozone layer is formed. We have studied in a chapter in science, right? So similarly here, what they mean here is atoms combine in the ratio of a small whole number to form a compound. According to law of constant proportion. If you change that proportion, that forms a different compound. It will not be water anymore. That will become hydrogen peroxide. The relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. The same thing. They are constant. Whether the water is here or somewhere else, whether a drop of water, glass of water or barrel of water, the proportion remains constant. It will not change. When it will change, when it will turn to a different new compound, that time it will change. So these are the 6 postulates given by Dalton. Very important. The next here is, what is the size of an atom? Is atom visible to our naked eyes? No. The size of an atom is so very small that you can consider it as, it is measured in terms of a nanometer. Now, nano is 9, so it is 10 raised to minus 9 nanometer, what we actually read. See, now, if you just consider one strand of your hair, how thin it is, children? Can you take one strand of your hair and measure in terms of a scale? No, right? It is very thin. Just imagine atoms being so very small. It can be very small. The measurement, the radius, or what you can say here, the measure of an atom, what we can measure in terms of 10 raised to minus 9 nanometer. For example, if you take a tip of the needle, how thin the needle is, just that at least you can see, right? So that is the measure of an atom, smallest to smallest particle. According to modern atomic theory, atom is the smallest particle of an atom. Atoms are very small, which can't be seen even through a powerful microscope. Now, cells, bacteria, smaller to smaller, though they are very small, we can see them through a powerful microscope, but here no, we cannot see them through a powerful microscope also. Atomic radius is measured in nanometer. The radius is measured in terms of a nanometer. Few examples are given here about atom of a hydrogen, water, a grain of a sand, and watermelon, etc. So that's a basic, what you can say, introduction to the chapter atoms and molecules. Now, the next part in this lesson, what we are going to study about is elements. So what are elements, how they are formed, how we name them, or how do we give for example, now iron is an element. What is the symbol for iron? How do we read it? What is the name given to it by giving first letter of this or some any form, that we study in our next session. So basic introduction of the chapter atoms and molecules, where we understood what are atoms, what are law of chemical combination given by Lavoisier, Dalton's atomic theory, and the next class will study more about elements, molecules.